This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome back to another episode of the Hockeytown West podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
And I'm Travis.
And on today's episode, it's going to be a little different than normal. We're going to break down the Griffins versus Cleveland Monsters game that happened over the weekend, the first game back from the holiday break for the Grand Rapids Griffins. We're also going to provide a Toledo Walleye update in this same episode because the holiday hockey schedule is crazy. One team played 3 games, one team played 1. Both teams play tomorrow, so we figure midweek episode we'll be able to do this again. We'll have updates from both teams again. Just kind of the way the schedule's working for us. It gives us a lot of hockey to talk about. And it'll be more fun for you guys, especially if you're a Griffins fan who just turns into the Griffins episodes. You'll get to hear some Toledo stuff too that might, interest you into going and following more of what they do. And same for Toledo fans on the Grand Rapids side. So we thought we'd change it up. Before we get started, man, Travis, how you doing today?
I'm good. Just another day. But all in all, I'm pretty good for the most part.
It's a Monday. It's not just another day. It's a Monday. It's gross.
Yeah.
The only positive about this Monday is that the Lions play tonight. So
yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much the extent of the good things about today.
That's why the colors behind me have changed from the Christmas colors to the Lions colors for the rest of the season. That'll be a thing for sure. But yeah, man, let's dive into this. Before we dive into the games, though, we, of course, always start with news and updates, whether that's roster movement or other news amongst the teams. We'll start on the Griffin side of things, and we got a big congratulations out to Dan Watson, actually, because after the game on Saturday, it was announced that he will be the all-star head coach for the Central Division in the AHL All-Star Classic this year. So congrats to him. He gets to head out to Coachella Valley for the All-Star game. Not a bad spot to head for an All-Star game at that time of year, if I do say so myself. Gets to go enjoy the sun and hockey, and hopefully bring some guys with them too from this team. I can imagine there's a goaltender in the conversation that might be coming with them. Who knows how that'll all work out. The AHL doesn't do a fan vote at all like the NHL does. They kind of just do it strictly on performance, which I guess that's how the All-Star game should go. So hopefully he gets to bring a player or two along with him, but huge honor for him and a much well-deserved honor, right?
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you're off to such a good start that you get to have that kind of a reward. I mean, you get a little, it's basically a small vacation if you think about it, there's far worse places you could go than Coachella Valley.
Yeah, 100%. So happy for him. Congrats to him. It's the first Griffins coach since Todd Nelson to be the all-star coach from the Griffins. So nice name to be associated with there. I know Nelly just moved up in the all-time wins category 2 for coaches over this last weekend. So congratulations to him too. I think he's 4th or 6th. I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but that's all-time for the AHL ever. And it's a league that's been around for a long time. So to be up there on that list as a head coach, Todd Nelson, obviously Griffins fans know who he is. He's a legend and a fantastic coach and obviously doing amazing things out in Hershey. So congrats to him on that note as well. Other Griffins news there, it's on the injury side. Obviously, Carter Mazur and Amadeus Lombardi still have not returned to the lineup, but there was some updates on Mazur's side. We told you a couple weeks ago he is skating. He is skating harder now. He should be ready to do some contact drills here soon. They're still looking at the mid-January timeframe for him to return. If that's late January, I'm not going to be mad too. Obviously, don't rush him back, but that is positive movement on his timetable of return. And Amadeus Lombardi, the only time frame that continues to get tossed around is he will miss some time. No one has put out there what type of injury, upper body, lower body, what, no one knows. We just all know he's going to miss some time. And obviously, those are 2 huge names for the Griffins. Missing the Griffins are doing still really well without both of them. But at the same time, you just imagine what this team will be when both those guys are back in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you think basically you're kind of going to be getting to the point with ammo if you have no timeline. Like, I know I've said in the past that, like, Carter is basically going to be like their trade deadline acquisition. I mean, it's starting to look like Carter will be back a lot sooner than that. Maybe ammo's that guy. And, I mean, if they can just kind of tread water till you get both these guys back, which they've done really well with so far, I think ultimately that when you get those guys back, you should be able to just kind of keep it going.
Yeah, I would think so. It's crazy when I look at the standings for like player stats and who's at the top of that, which we'll get into a little bit later. But those were two names you expected to see at the top of it. But the names that are up there, you're thankful that we have those veteran acquisitions from this offseason that have kind of been able to pick up that slack and keep the team rolling forward. Then on the Toledo side of things, some roster updates there. Matt Anderson today signed a PTO in Utica in the AHL. So we had him for a couple games. He's going away again, and hopefully he'll be back, but hopefully he enjoys his time in Utica. Like we've said it before, it's probably a player that shouldn't be playing in the ECHL with the amount of skill he has, especially his skating. But he's going to go get that opportunity. He's going to go play in front of those new light-up dasher boards around the whole rink. I don't know if anyone else has seen this. The Utica Comets are the first team, I think, in North America to have a fully digital board set up on their ice. I did see it in-game. I clicked over to their game Saturday. It's not as distracting as you would think, and like the goal animations on it and stuff make it look pretty sick. So there is potential there for that. I just don't see how those boards can withstand some of the shots that bounce off of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like when you play the NHL, it's like that. Like the boards are like, and it's like I would hate that. But I think it was Ottawa that used to have like the light up boards on one side, and I always thought that was weird.
Yeah. The lights like around the glass, like in Vancouver, I love that. I wish that was everywhere, but at the same time, money. But the light up boards, it's interesting. It's different. It basically just takes, I'm curious in the NHL if it would take away the digital overlay boards that they have, if they just replaced it with that and there was always advertisements moving. Like I wonder if that would change that and get rid of that awful viewing experience when you're watching an NHL game.
Yeah, it would. If it does help, that'd be a great thing that maybe they should consider. Because yeah, like you said, some NHL games are hard to watch with that new ad stuff. And then they'll say something to Bettman, and he's like, "People don't look at the boards." And it's like, okay,
sure, yeah, we don't look at the boards until a player morphs into the boards. Then we're looking at it. Anyways, back to Toledo's news. Also on the PTO side of things, Grant Gabriel signed a PTO with the Cleveland Monsters over the weekend, which is funny because the Grand Rapids Griffins are set up to play the Cleveland Monsters here on New Year's Eve, so we'll most likely see Gabriel on the other side. And last time the Griffins had to face a Walleye on the other side in a PTO situation, he scored, and I believe it was with Cleveland, and I think it was Lewandowski.
Yeah.
So no friendly fire, Gabes. Like, we don't allow that here. But I'm sorry, tomorrow night you're the enemy. But we still love you. And outside of that, too, Hunter Johannes still in Toledo, played all 3 games this weekend. We're going to talk about him more when we get to the Toledo update. Travis was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to speak to him post-game, too. So when we get to that point, we'll dive into that. But that is all the news and updates we have from over the weekend. It is time to start recapping some hockey. The Griffins come back from the holiday break in Cleveland in front of shout out to you, Cleveland, a great crowd, 16,000 people, their biggest crowd of the season. That arena holds about 18,000 because they share it with the Cavaliers. It's a big place. It's a beautiful arena. And it was packed. It was rocking, but the Griffins didn't care at all. They stormed into this place and made a statement in this game, coming out of this with a 5-1 victory. I want to start off talking about the first period, though, because when you come back from a holiday break, you expect rust, right? You expect a team to be rusty. Some traveled home, some traveled around the country, some went to some warmer spots. You're like, they're going to be rusty. No, the Griffins came out and set the tone immediately. And when I mean immediately, 2 minutes, 44 seconds into the game, Austin Watson throws a big old hit and drops the gloves. I was like, all right, the tone has been set. And in all of that, Elmer Soderblom becomes a one-man wrecking crew this first period here. He throws a big hit, draws a crowd, draws a penalty. That results in a power play goal almost immediately on that power play. The Monsters' whole team's basically coming after Elmer with that whole situation, which results in him getting hit, but ends up throwing a massive reverse hit. Somehow that's interference. I don't understand that at all. And then he ends up dropping the gloves and throws 3 beautiful right-handers because obviously he's got the reach advantage over every single person that wants to drop the gloves with him in the NHL, maybe outside of Matt Rempe. Like, let's be real here. That's about the only guy that could have the reach.
It's funny because my buddy Ryan was at that game, and he's like, yeah, like 5'7" Trey Fix-Wolansky's going to try to fight 6'8" Elmer Soderblom, and it's like, that'd be like the equivalent of Matt Rempe fighting, like, I don't even know, Brad Marchand, basically. Like,
basically,
that's all I could think of. And the only other thing I could think of with this whole sequence is the only thing that it reminded me of was like Dustin Byfuglien in the playoffs the one year when he like just grabbed 2 guys and like was like holding them. So that's like the only thing, like that was the other takeaway I had. That kind of just that whole first period with Elmer, he felt like Big Buff basically. I thought from what I could see.
It was wild, man. Like we've seen him bring his physical play this season, and obviously up that category for him big time compared to years past. But this first period, he just was a new beast out there. I don't know if the break just he relaxed and got his legs back under him or what, but he was on fire. I mean, we'll dive into it more after the game, but there was a lot of conversation generated around Elmer based on this game, that period of hockey alone, but we'll get there. But also in that period, though, the Griffins come out of this with a 2-0 lead at the end of the first. Joe Snively got the first goal of the game there with Nate Danielson and Austin Watson assisting. Another beautiful feed from Nate Danielson. And then Dom Shine gets a power play goal that was originally credited to Dries during the play, but it came back that it was Dom Shine's goal, his 8th of the season from Danielson and William Vollinder on the power play there. And again, Nate Danielson makes another great play to get the puck out somewhere where a guy can rip it. And that's exactly what happened here. And Nate Danielson had himself a night. I know we're going to talk about him more too. But that's really it for the first period. To recap, that is the tone was set and the Griffins come out of it with a 2-0 lead in a barn that's really hard to play in against a team that's really good at home. That's how you set the tone, especially when, oh yeah, you're playing Cleveland, not just this game. Your next game is New Year's Eve against them. And oh yeah, your game after that is also against Cleveland. You have 3 games against the same team in a row for the second time this season. Going to the second period, you knew Cleveland was going to come out and try to play harder. They did. They get a goal 1 minute, 54 seconds into this period. But after that, the Griffins' defense was solid. They shut them down, dominated play left and right, and did not let Cleveland gain any momentum in this game. They had momentum for maybe 2 minutes of that period, and that was it. Going to the third period, all Griffins here. Gabriel Seeger gets his 5th goal of the season, 1 minute, 51 seconds into that period. Joe Snively gets his 12th of the season, 2nd of the game from Nate Danielson and Sheldon Dries, another power play goal. And then the empty netter, Joe Snively completes the hat trick and gets a hattie in the first game back from the break. You could not ask for much more for the Griffins to come back from a holiday break and perform like this. To wrap up the stats in this game, though, Cleveland somehow does outshoot Grand Rapids 33-24 in this one. I did not feel like it when you're watching the game. Like I said, Grand Rapids dominated play. I'm going to say most of these shots were very, very low danger shots from the outside. Grand Rapids did a great job of cleaning up the slot and pushing the guys out as far as they possibly could. Griffin's power play goes 2 for 3 and the penalty kill goes 3 for 3. The special teams battle was won by Grand Rapids in a big way, and that was the biggest difference maker in this game overall. And talk about bounce back as well. Ville Husso, his last game played for the Griffins was that 6-1 loss versus Milwaukee. Comes back and stops 32 of 33 shots in this game. Like, if you're a Griffins fan looking at how they went into the holiday break with 2 frustrating losses, one game they probably should have won versus Texas in a game where Milwaukee blows them out after they come home after a crazy road trip and they perform like this, all your concerns from those 2 games, gone. They're lost. No one cares about what those 2 games did now because of the way this team came back.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see Husso bounce back. The biggest thing that, like, I know you and I were like, this is weird, is that Costa didn't even dress in this game. But
yeah, I mean, I think he got some extra holiday break, which he's earned. Yeah,
I think that's pretty much what it was. But all in all, I mean, you love to see Husso bounce back. I mean, he had been playing really well for the Griffins, and even towards the end of his stint with the Wings, he was playing pretty well. It just shows that, like, how he's handling this, like, he's the ultimate professional. Like, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. And then, like, the other thing that I would throw into this isn't really goaltending related, is that Joe Snively's 1 goal off of his pace is 1 goal off of his total from last year as a whole.
Jesus. Yeah, he's had a great season.
Well, and granted, he had 45 assists last year.
Oh, God.
But he's on pace for 31 goals this year, which would be a career high, and, like, not even close to, like, he'd be doubling his previous career high at the American League level.
And look, we talked about it at the intro here. You're missing 2 prominent young prospect players who were expected to come in this year and put up big points. And when you're missing those guys for the length of time you're missing them, you need guys that can come in and step up. And Joe Snively has been that veteran player that's come in and stepped up. Not just him. I mean, you look at Sheldon Dries, you look at Austin Watson, you look at Dominic Shine, what he's been doing as well on the production side. You have all 3 of those guys in the top 5 in points on this team. And then the other rookie who's supposed to step in, but you didn't know what his point total would be this season, being his first full pro season, in Nate Danielson, and he's fourth on the team in scoring right now. Like,
and that's kind of what you could expect, but at the same time, like, you're not totally sure. I mean, until a guy actually starts to see games, like, then you still don't ultimately know. But I mean, look, he's probably in the future Detroit's second line center. Him and Marco probably gonna battle it out for that position for the next decade. Like, that's just a reality of life. But I mean, look, to have a kid coming in and, he's really starting to find it. I know he went through a 5-game stretch where he didn't put up any points, but then to come out of Christmas with a 3-point game, all assists, like, just shows that, like, when he gets to the NHL, if you can put a guy that can shoot the puck at an elite level with him, he's going to be a prime setup guy. He may not score 30, 40 goals, but like I've said before, he's probably going to have 40, 50 assists with how well he can pass the puck.
yeah, and you've talked about it a lot with him as a prospect in general, about his vision, right? And 3 assists in this game, all 3 of them were beautiful setups by him. Even one of them just being where he was getting pinned to the boards and decides to toss it out in front because he saw a guy go into the net. But just the IQ to be able to make that decision at that point in time and still get that off and get it out there, that's huge, especially when you're a kid as young as him. His vision just continues to show every game, and that's why he's racking up assists, and that's why I fully believe you're right on that. He's going to put up 40, 50 assists in the NHL because he has that vision and that capability to do that. And again, too, he's still a small kid, but he's fighting guys off left and right. I can think of one play on a penalty kill in this game where he's fighting off 2 Cleveland Monsters players, eating up probably a good 10, 15 seconds of their power play on the penalty kill. He's been fantastic on the penalty kill, let alone also being a fantastic setup guy in the power play. He's really doing it all right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of just what his game is, like a two-way, 200-foot player. Look, that's the mold that Detroit has kind of built their future around. Guys that'll play 200-foot, especially at the center position. I mean, you think of Dylan Larkin, he's a 200-foot center. Nate Danielson, you're starting to see a 200-foot center. Marco, we know he's a 200-foot center. Like, the want of these prospects to play defense as much as playing offense, I think, is probably the most exciting thing. And Nate's, he's like, you keep brought up vision. Like, it's something I really didn't even notice until I sat in the press box with you the one night. Like, then it really showed. It's like, wow, he sees the game. Like, he just knows kind of where guys are supposed to be. It's funny because, like, I didn't get to catch a lot of this game. I was watching Toledo because they were playing, and, like, our Twitter feed was just crazy that night. But it's funny because when they scored the last goal, wasn't that the one where Snively got the hat trick, was the empty net goal?
Yep.
So I heard Bob say, man, it's too bad they couldn't give it to Danielson first so he could get 4 assists on. But, he's just progressing well. And I think that's the biggest thing that everybody should be excited about is how well he's starting to progress. And I mean, he's a young player, he's a rookie, and he's on pace for 45 points. So, I mean, again, you go back to he may not score a lot of goals, but he's going to get a lot of assists. He's got 3 goals, 16 assists right now for 19 points, and he's projected 7 goals, 38 assists, 45 points. So,
exactly.
I think he's going to be a prime setup man in the NHL, like in his professional career, and if he can develop a shot along the way, which, I mean, we know he can shoot the puck. He's a first-round draft pick, but sometimes it's just going to be finding that guy that's shot first with his vision and playmaking ability that can find a guy like that.
Exactly. And you also brought up the empty net goal. You got to talk about the most unselfish player on the team, Austin Watson. They're making sure to look around on that play. He was looking for a good 5 seconds of who can I get this puck to that needs it tonight, and finds Joe Snively to complete the hat trick. Like, Watson had the open net, but he wanted to make sure somebody got something out of it. And he wanted to find Nate too at that point. But at the same time, getting Snively the hat trick, that's great for him. It's a guy that's been working his butt off and deserves to get that, that monument, that milestone there, whatever you want to call it, in the hat trick. Also in this game, there's a guy that we don't talk about a lot. And after the last couple games, I'm noticing him more and more defensively. And it's a veteran player that doesn't get a lot of attention on this team. And that's Brogan Rafferty. And a lot of play that he's been making lately. Unfortunately, he was on the ice for the 1 Cleveland goal in this game, but at the same time, defensively, he's been rock solid lately. He started off the season leaving me scratching my head a lot, going, Brogan, what are you doing, man? And over the last few games, he's really turned it on defensively and shutting it down, but also his transition to getting the puck out of the Griffin zone has been fantastic. So I want to give Brogan Rafferty his flowers there because he deserves them. And again, he's a guy that gets overshadowed by a lot of prospects in the blue line back there and doesn't get the attention he deserves.
Well, I think the biggest thing too is like, he's also like he's playing well, like you said, but he's also mentoring like you said, so many prospects. So I think kind of offensively, he's kind of taken a little bit of a back seat to some of these guys. I mean, like you know who's running the power play? It's the kids. Like that Brogan could do that. I think he's even done it in the past. If it was last year, you'd have to correct me, but I think. Didn't he run a unit at points throughout the year last year?
Throughout the year here and there, he wasn't expected to run it the most. That was usually Ed.
Well, I mean,
or Albert.
I'm like you said, I'm still learning the roster as a whole, but for a guy that's two-way veteran, I mean, you got Bouillon, you got Wallinder, you got Tumisto, and between him and Didier, they're kind of like the guys that are like, hey, we got to mentor these kids along so that. Eventually one day they can make it, but to me, he's not really doing anything wrong. Like you said, he's a great first pass out of your own end. Like that's a big thing for a defenseman, and it's just shows like you need veterans to help these kids along the way. You see it with Watson and Snively, Dries, Shine up front with Danielson and Ammo and Carter when he's healthy, and on the back end you've got Rafferty and even now Didier. So just, that's they know what they're supposed to be doing and they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you can say he maybe was taking a step back offensively. He's still the third highest scoring defenseman on the team right now. 9 points, 3 goals, and 6 assists there in 24 games. Actually, 1 point under the next guy I wanted to talk about in another defenseman in Shai Bouillon, who's got 10 assists currently on the season in 26 games, but a guy that, didn't start the season really on the ice. He didn't play, I think, until the second or third week of the season. Someone had to correct me where I'm wrong there.
He was hurt. Yeah, hurt.
Correct.
So
he didn't get to start off with everyone else, but has become a very key piece of this Griffins defense. Even has an assist in this Cleveland game on the Seager goal. And just overall, his defensive play, rock solid. Like, you couldn't ask much more from a young rookie like this. He's a +6 on the team right now on the defensive side as well. But his offensive side is really starting to show. His setups and his vision on the blue line are starting to come through. I've seen him running the power play units here and there as well, especially when you have a guy like Tuo or Wallinder go down. Like, he's been a really nice piece to be back there. And I think I said it maybe 3 weeks into his season that he was creeping up that defensive depth chart a lot quicker than I thought he would. And he continues to do that. I couldn't tell you honestly right now, if you asked me on this show today to pick the top defensive prospect on this team right now, I couldn't tell you who it is between Wallinder, Tuo, or Bouillon. Bouillon is really creating a lot of conversation there in my head for what his potential might be with this organization.
Well, the pecking order is clearly defined of who's getting the first call up right now. I mean, they have already established that it would be
William
Wally.
Lagesson.
Well, of the 3 kids.
Yeah.
The first guy that's getting called up clearly is Lagesson, but of those 3 kids, it's clearly Wallinder because he was the guy that got called up on an emergency basis right before Christmas.
Yep.
But back to Shai, I mean, six assists in his last 10 games. I mean, again, it's like, there's so many second-round draft picks on this blue line. Like, you got Wally, you got Shai, and you got Tuo. All 3 second-round picks. So you're kind of hoping at some point, one of them can get there, right? And for turning pro this year being your rookie season to have just under half a point a game, essentially, like 26 games played, 10 points. Like, he's on pace for 26 points in 68 games. So, I mean, he's not far off half a point per game as a defenseman and a rookie. You just hope he develops and keeps continuing what he's doing. He's doing a lot of good things. He's like, I want to say, like a +5 or 6 over the last 10 games. So you're just kind of seeing, like he's doing a lot of good things. I mean, a lot of people don't look at plus minus anymore, but I still think it's a fairly important stat to a point.
For a defenseman, it's important, I think, to look at a lot. But
it's good that he's not leading the Masters.
Exactly.
if you get the reference.
Yeah, he's not getting the green jacket this year, so.
But,
no, it is good, man. He's been a real surprise to me this season. I really like what he brings, and I think the team likes him a lot as well. I'm seeing him put in the more high-pressure situations lately, and he's performing in it. But the last guy, we obviously talked about him with the first period of this Griffins game in Cleveland, Elmer Soderblom. We've got to talk about it because this generated a lot of conversation, and I want to get your thoughts on this. And if you have thoughts on this as a fan, drop them in the comments below and let us know your thoughts. But has Elmer earned the potential call-up to Detroit this season?
I don't know.
If you ask Bob Kaiser on the broadcast, he says it's got to happen. He's even said, I'm not Steve Yzerman. I don't make those decisions, but the points aren't there. Let's call out that thing because people are always going to look at points first when you're talking about a forward. The points, sure, they aren't there. What, he's got 10 points in 30 games this season. It took him till November 3rd to get his first point of the season, even though he was still outplaying a lot of the team, leading the team in shots. He still leads the team in shots with 70 shots on goal over 30 games. He's shooting the puck, trying to find opportunity, but he's had opportunities. He's starting to set up plays more too. His assists have all come very recently there, but it's the physical side that he's bringing to the table that a lot of people don't pay attention to. Obviously, you pay attention to it when that man hits somebody because it's like a Mack truck running into a guy. But at the same time, his physical presence clears the way for guys around him to go be offensively good on the ice. Like, he was clearing space a lot of the time for Austin Watson and Nate Danielson when he was on that line. He's been shifted back and forth on the line with Dries or Snively and Shine as well. Like, he's sure not finding the back of the net, but his physical play is something I think the Detroit Red Wings kind of lack. And if he can go up there and clear space for guys like Marco Kasper and Jonathan Berggren, for example, if you put those three on a line together, because the Grand Rapids chemistry alone, but at the same time, Elmer being able to clear the way for those two, that could be something really nice. Now, is it like a permanent call-up? Probably not, but at the same time, you don't know. He could go up there and wow us all. But I personally think that if you're looking for grit and a little bit of piss and vinegar in the lineup, you might need to make the call and get the big guy up there.
So I didn't realize this, but half of his points have came in the last 10 games. He's got 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points in his last 10 games. So it's starting to come together for him slowly. So like I said, 2 goals, 3 assists, last 5 games. He only has 2 goals all season. So, I mean, he's starting to slowly find it. Like you said, his play off the puck's probably the most impressive part, but at the same time, he's starting to get looks. I mean, let's be real. He's got the most shots on the team, right? You said?
Yeah, 70.
And they're not going in. I guess it's just like keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I could see a world where he gets called up. You got to understand, like, he would have to play better than one of Christian Fischer, Tyler Mott. That's pretty much your 2.
I would say he is. Like, I would say he's playing better than Fischer right now. Mott has the penalty kill, upside, right? He has that there, which, again, Elmer's been doing some of that too. He's been doing a lot more on the power play, but you see him out there a little bit for the penalty kill. But I would argue that he's playing better than Christian Fischer right now.
I haven't watched enough Wings games to tell you, to be honest. I mean,
I know.
I would say
they were tough to watch for a minute there until last night.
I would say this. Pending what happens with them, if they start to climb out of this hole they've dug themselves, he probably stays. If they kind of continue to just hover like 500 the rest of the way until the deadline, and then they make a couple trades, yeah, he's probably one of the first guys to be called up. It's going to be him and Danielson most likely for your
if trades happen, yeah.
For trades. I mean, you're going to want to start putting youth in the lineup for next season. Like, get these guys some games so they know what to expect. Obviously, Elmer's played some NHL games, but, that was now a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
been a minute.
It's been a while. I like your idea of Berggren with Casper and him kind of retooling a Griffins kids line.
I just like the ability to go clear space for him. And
no,
see, that's the thing is he has to go do that at the NHL level, which he's never played the physical side of the NHL game, and it is different. So that does concern me, but
it's tough because it is such an unknown. Like, I could see a world where he gets games at the end of the year. I could see a world where they say, we're going to leave you there, keep doing what you're doing, and then next year you make a run at it. Maybe you get the Marco treatment, you play a game or two, and you come up. Like, I don't know. Like, it's I want to say yes, but at the same time, it's like, you really don't know. I mean, look, they got a new coaching staff. So ultimately, like, look, you could, Todd could walk in there and say, hey, I'm not loving the vibe out of a couple of the guys in the bottom six. Can we call up a guy from GR just to get a look? And absolutely could happen.
All he has to do is watch that first period from Cleveland, and he's probably like, oh.
I think if you see more of that the rest of the way, then yeah, I would say yes, he's probably going to get a call up. If he can consistently be that impactful and noticeable, then there comes a point where you got to start to have a conversation. It's funny, I listened to a piece from the Sheet today, and they said it was Pierre Maguire talking to Jeff, and they were talking about how Ken Holland once said that I'd rather have him overripe than underdeveloped. So, yeah. I mean, it's funny to where you kind of just look at this prospect and his journey to the NHL and then back to the American League, like, which, look, they've already said to him, like, look, your play off the puck has to improve. And I think that's probably the most improved part of his game. Like, he's not putting
1,000%. He's
not putting up the points that, when he came over, he had 33 points in 52 games in Frölunda. He didn't even have that last year with the Griffins, which, playing down in the lineup most of the year, if I'm not mistaken.
For at least the first half of the year, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I would love to see more of what he did in the first period over an extended period of time.
Well, see, that's the thing is we've been seeing that more over the last few games, not like a month or two or whatever. We've seen the physical play kind of almost all season now at this point. It's been kind of just a new awakening for him. But what I saw Friday, I haven't seen in that amount in one period out of him yet, but I've seen that definitely spread out over a few games. I mean, he's been an absolute pest for most teams, and the new physicality of not being afraid to throw the body, I think there is a little hesitation from him to still throw the body because, dude, when you're 6'8", 250 pounds, it's hard not to hurt somebody when you're hitting them at the speeds that hockey is played at. Like,
that's not your fault.
Exactly. And I think he's had to overcome that, though. Like, even Bob was mentioning it on that broadcast, no one wants to hurt anybody out in this league. But at the same time, there's always that thought that he might. And that guy he smoked behind the Cleveland net left the game after that. And there was a good amount of blood from it, too. So it's a thing he's had to overcome mentally, I think. And he's done it. He's starting to do it more because he's seeing what he can do when he does that. And for him to go out there, draw that penalty out of that scrum after the hit where he's just batting Trey Fix-Olansky on the head because it was really funny. And then, they go take a penalty out of that. Shine gets that goal 8 seconds into that power play, I'm pretty sure. And that doesn't happen without Elmer going and doing that. And then everything else, all the chaos that followed as well, just got the boys up and running. Like, they were all hype for seeing what this kid was doing. I've asked Austin Watson about it before, and he loves seeing him do it. He loves seeing the European guys go out there and get feisty. And I think the whole rest of the roster probably agrees with them on that.
I wonder if Watson walks up to him and is like, dude, you're the biggest freaking guy in the league. Like, you're 6'8", like 250 pounds. Like, just go use your size. Like, nobody's going to like, nobody's running you over. And if they are, it's because you're off balance, most likely.
Or
like,
if they do hurt you, they gotta deal with him.
Right. And that's probably the last guy you want to deal with right now in the American League. Like, I mean, I can understand where it would be tough. Like, you're that big, like it's tough. Like, but at the same time, if you can get past that like mental block, like that's where you could start to see some very dangerous things happen. Just not saying that he's going to go out there and murder somebody. I'm just saying, like, with how positive he can be, like, you just could see him take off. Like,
yeah,
that could be the one thing that the one element to his game that, like, if he can find that physicality side, which he's starting to find and it's really starting to show, there's where you could really find a prospect, like, find his way. Maybe not in the initial role that he thought he would be in, but, like, look, a third line checking winger, like, I could see it.
Third line checking winger that does have hands and has shown he has a ridiculous shot. Like, if he can figure it all out and how to piece it all together, then you're an incredible player. I don't think you're gonna be able to piece it all together, but if you can go up there and make the impact on the physical side and, you know, put up some assists here and there and maybe get a sick goal like the Gridiron Griffins game where he just ripped one from the top of the faceoff circle past Hellberg, like, you do that every once in a while, you're gonna find a spot for yourself in the NHL.
Well, and some of it too, like, yeah, you got to remember he was a 6th round draft pick.
Exactly.
The odds of him playing even 100 games in the NHL or 82 games are so stacked against you that, like, you know, it's amazing that he made the team his first year. Should he have probably been in GR? Probably. But at that point in time, like, he was literally their best option for that position, like that roster spot at that given time.
Times were dark.
Yeah, you know, I hope he makes it back. Like, he's such a big guy. Like, if he can really, like, find his way with this more physical style, I could see a world where he makes it back to the NHL.
100%. Well, that's enough of giving Elmer flowers, but he's a big guy, so he needs a lot of flowers, right? That does wrap up this Griffins game, though. Like we said, you know, they win this one 5-1. Make a statement coming out of the break, especially when you got to play that team 3 games in a row. And like we said, the next Griffins game will be New Year's Eve against Cleveland at home, and then they face off against Cleveland one more time there. Griffins still sit,
and then twice in the middle of the month. Like,
yeah, the month of January is Griffins versus Cleveland Monsters. Get used to us talking about them. But you notice that it's another game against Cleveland this season where we had to talk about it, and we didn't say Trey Fix-Wolansky's name on the score sheet. We just mentioned Elmer trying to beat the crap out of him. Well, that's the way I like it. So
it would take like 3 Trey Fix-Wolanskys just to get to the height of Elmer at that point. So,
well, yeah. See, Trav, you weren't around in the first season of this show, and every time they played Cleveland, I was forced to say his name constantly, and I don't like saying it. So, yeah. But again, like we said, Griffins played them Tuesday, New Year's Eve at home. Then they go back on the road Thursday and play Cleveland. Then their only game this upcoming weekend is on Saturday in Milwaukee. I'm sure that'll be a fun one to watch. And then they get the rest of that next week off. And they're back home for a nice 5-game homestand. So fun schedule coming up here. A lot of fun hockey that we'll be talking about again. Like, that's why we're doing these episodes kind of split up with this, because, you know, the Griffins play on Thursday. Toledo plays tomorrow. Griffins play tomorrow. Like, it's just crazy. But like I was saying, the Griffins still sit atop the Central Division above the new second place team in the Texas Stars. They have a nice 6-point gap on them. The rest of the Central goes as followed. Chicago 1 point behind Texas. Milwaukee tied with Chicago, and Rockford 2 points behind Milwaukee. And then Iowa and Manitoba down at the bottom playing what they call hockey, I guess. So that does wrap up the Central Division there. We're going to hit a quick ad break. When we come back, we're going to dive into the last couple games of the Toledo Walleye, kind of just in the style we recapped the Griffins games there. And then we'll probably add some World Junior talk in there, because how do we not? Because there's a prospect that's still obviously blowing the doors down there. And there was another shocking thing that happened over the weekend in the World Juniors as well. So we'll hit the ad break. When we come back, we'll recap all that stuff. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
There's nothing like the excitement of watching NHL hockey live and in person. The sounds of the puck hitting the boards, the players slamming guys up against the glass. There's truly nothing like it, and it's never been easier to save money on your tickets than now with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And welcome back. All right, let's dive into talking some Toledo Walleye hockey here because the boys had a busy weekend, unlike Grand Rapids here. Nice little 3-3 to come out of the holiday break. If you've missed previous episodes, we've talked about their schedule out of the holiday break is a freaking gauntlet that they've got to go through here. And they started it off with a matchup at home against Iowa, who's surprisingly a good team this season. And overall, this was a great hockey game. So, Travis, break it down for me, man.
You know, it was just a fun game to watch, honestly. And Pat even said after the game, he's like, I wouldn't have cared if we lost this game in the shootout. Like, I mean, it was such an exciting game for the fans. Back and forth, you had a little bit of everything. Honestly, all I can remember really is the shootout. Like, Hawkins
blacked out.
Hawkins is out here just freezing a goaltender more than ice. I mean, literally, like the goalie just fell down, like because he did get hurt in the third period. And he like momentarily skated to the bench, got off the ice, and then by the end of the TV show, he was back in the net. And then Griffin Ness scored. All you had to do was really move him side to side, and they were scoring. But Christ, Hawkins, I think if he was sliding to his right, would have put the poor bastard into the corner, but that's just kind of what it was. Like, I felt bad for him. I was like, holy shit. Like, he just, everybody around the monitor was like, oh my God, that just happened. And I was just like,
it was good enough. It was good enough of a shootout goal for Hawk to message us and go, can I get the clip of that?
No, it was nuts. I mean, it feels like forever ago. It was just such a back and forth game. I mean, you just got to love that they came out of break and played so well. And even if they would have lost the game in the shootout, like their head coach is even like, I would have been fine if we lost in the shootout. Like,
yeah,
that's probably the biggest takeaway. I don't even remember who scored other than Hawkins in that game.
Sorry, buddy. I got you there. So the goals in this game, Iowa scored first in the game in the first period there. Second period, 1:23 in. Jalen Smerrick gets his second of the season from Cruz and Craggs.
That was an
Beautiful
unreal
goal.
shot. That was
Beautiful
an
goal.
Unreal shot. See, I just needed you to tell me what happened, and I can remember. So, literally, like, that was in the other end from me, and when he shot it, he was almost perfectly in line with me, and I was like, did Hawkins shoot that puck? Like, I was like, it was a Hawkins type shot. I mean, he just ripped that thing. That was a beautiful shot. Sorry to interrupt.
It really was. No, you're good because it was a beautiful shot. And then less than 2 minutes later, Matt Anderson gets his first of the season. Another great defensive play from two defensive partners here, honestly, to get the 2 goals right here from Craggs and Cruz as well, again on that one. So,
yeah, that
again,
was a
those
nice
two.
one. That was a nice one.
Those 2 producing back-to-back assists on 2 defenseman goals. Fun times for all there. So that gets the Walleye the lead there. Just a few minutes, got a minute and 20-ish seconds later, Iowa does come back and get another goal there. Another goal in the second period, though. Brandon Hawkins gets his 13th of the season from Smerrick and Spezia on the power play. And then Iowa adds one with 6 minutes left in the second there to tie the game on the power play as well. No goals in the third period, goes to the shootout. And as we mentioned, Brandon Hawkins and Griffin Ness score for Toledo there, and the 2 shooters for Iowa do not score in that one. Iowa's power play goes 2 for 5. The Walleyes goes 1 for 4. Toledo outshoots Iowa 37-24. And Jan Bednar stops 21 of 24 and has a perfect shootout. Again, continuing just great success that Jan Bednar is having in net with playing as many freaking games as he is right now.
I will say there was one funny thing. I'm not going to say what was said and what player said it, but for any of the walleye players that listen, or if any of the people that were standing around us listen, when they came through the hallway, oh, some of the hooting and hollering that was going on, those boys were fired up. I'll say that. And I mean, like, me and the three interns, I guess you would say, that, or workers for the walleye that were there, all three of us about dropped to the floor laughing. It was so funny. So it was just a very funny moment. Just had to put that in there.
As you should, because you get the opportunity to watch the end of the game sometime down there. So that's fun for you. But at the same time, how are you not fired up after that? Like you said, this is a back and forth, just pure electric game that was fun for the fans. But the players had fun with it too. Like blowing out teams all the time, sure, it's fun. But a battle like that is a lot of fun as well. And sure, you don't want to go to OT and a shootout when you're starting off this crazy gauntlet schedule. But at the same time, like, when it's a game like that, that's that much fun. Yeah, the boys had to be fired up.
We'll have to ask Hawk if he's still the guy if he's in charge of the music post game, because he said he was last year.
Oh boy,
when we had him on, because dude, I'm telling you, it's every style of music you could ever think of, and it's just like, what song is it? And it's like, oh yeah, that's a good one. And then it's like, where did that song come from? But it's fun because music just blaring out of that locker room.
It's always good to be outside the room after a win, man. It's always a blast. It's the same in Grand Rapids too. Then you sit outside the room after a loss and it's just like no music, silence. You just hear voices and you're like, oh God. The vibes are not as much fun. But yeah, no, good times there. Let's move on to Saturday's game where the Toledo Walleye leave home, go to Indy, because why not in the middle of a 3-3 weekend, throw travel into the mix too. So they go to Indy, go to the new barn, which based on the TV broadcast looks really nice. I'd be curious to ask the guys what they thought of it. But Toledo walks in there and, new barn, same vibe for the Walleye, win 4-1. A dominating game, honestly, by the Toledo Walleye in this one.
Yeah, it was very chippy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that here after the goals. Let's get the quick rundown here because most of the goals obviously came from the Toledo Walleye. So Sawyer gets things started 35 seconds into the freaking game, gets his first of the season from Craggs and Lewandowski. Nothing else in the first period there. Second period comes around 6 minutes, 56 seconds in. Jalen Smerrick, second goal of the weekend, third goal in the season. Hunter Johannes gets his first assist as a Toledo Walleye, and Griffin Ness had the secondary on that one. Then it's the Brandon Hawkins show, who gets his 14th and 15th goals of the season, one in the second, one at the beginning of the third period there. One of them, again, just an absolutely ridiculous freaking shot, because of course it was. Assists on those goals, you had Pietola and Spezia, sorry, buddy, assisting on the first one, and Spezia and Keenan on the second one there. And then Indy does add a goal, and Room is a shutout with, 20 seconds left. Darn jerks. But outside of that, though, the Walleye outshoot Indy 23-20 in this one. Guylander stops 19-20. And the Toledo Walleye power play 0-for-6 with the penalty kill, a perfect 3-for-3. And like you said, it was a rough and chippy game. When I look at the game sheet here and see just 6 penalties between the first and the second, and then this much of the page for the third period there, including roughings, misconducts, charging, fighting, unsportsmanlikes, roughing. What happened at the end of this game? Because I was not fortunate enough to watch this one.
Indy just tried to muck it up. Really?
Sore losers.
And, the Chaz left the game, which everybody was talking about on the Toledo pages. You could tell, I don't even know if he really wanted to go with the guy, to be honest, from what it seemed like. He may have.
From the replay I saw, it didn't look like he wanted to go.
I don't think he really wanted to, and the guy just kind of grabbed him at one point. Chaz was like, dude, I'm done. I have there's no reason for this.
I fought half your team already. I don't want to fight you.
It's there's no reason for this. And then the guy just picks him up and slams him. And I'm just like, okay, how's that not anything on top of it? When you physically pick a dude up that's 6 foot, probably 4, 220.
Yeah, he just got the fighting penalty in that too, eh?
Yeah, I was shocked there wasn't anything on top of that. And I was instantly oh, I hope Chaz is all right, because he's a big piece of the blue line. It's so funny because Friday night was officiated so well outside of one missed kneeing penalty. Anderson got, 5 in a game for kneeing, but then the same play happens and you don't call a 5-minute major there Friday. That was about my only gripe with that game, to be honest. Saturday, it's like Wild West, anything goes. We're not going to really call much of anything, like as far as like obscene, I guess you would say, outside of one misconduct, which was for Smerrick, like basically. Like, I don't know. It was just weird. I'm glad that game got over when it did. I was honestly like, can we just call this game with like 6 minutes left? Like, Indy couldn't generate much of anything. Toledo just like was already up, so it was just like cruise control. And I just was like, can we get out of there with like nothing worse than what's already happened? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, to break down the goals, I mean, Swire, like 35 seconds in, great shot. Hunter's pass to Jalen was beautiful. I mean, there's the offensive ability of Smerrick, like recognizing, okay, I'm gone if I can get behind the defenseman, and he did, and made a brilliant move on the goaltender. Hawkins, Jesus. His first goal, like, if you can define puck luck, like the puck just basically landed on his stick and then he just wired it past the goaltender. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, it was like the weirdest little bounce, and Hawkins just reached behind him, grabbed the puck, and just lasers it. And I'm just like, I even said to Kels, I just started laughing. I was like, this guy. Like,
This guy.
I was like,
He's something.
oh. And then the fourth goal, I think it was the fourth. Yeah, it would have been the fourth goal. It was basically the same play as the 2-on-1 in Kalamazoo with Spezia and Hawk.
Okay, yeah.
Where they went cross ice and the goalie had no chance. That's basically what it was. Just like, I looked at that and I looked at Kelsey. I was like, they scored the exact same goal in Kalamazoo this way. Like, same play.
Hey, if it works, don't change it, right?
And Carter looked great. I mean, Carter played really well.
Yeah, I was just about to say, let's talk about Carter here because, kind of up and down past couple of games for him the past couple of times he started with Toledo. And really just this was a kind of a game where you saw him play the style of goaltending that we're used to seeing him or kind of expect him to play. And we know, he's been thrown up and down between Grand Rapids and Toledo for a lot of the start of the season here. So he hasn't been able to get comfortable. But when this kid gets comfortable, he's kind of lights out, man. And not that Indy had a ton of chances, right? Only 20 shots on goal, only 5 in the third period there. But at the same time, like, just another great game from him. And you just love seeing that before they head in, or as they're heading into this gauntlet of a schedule where you can't ride Bedsy for all these games. I mean, the guy's doing everything he possibly can and playing incredibly, but you need Carter to be able to step in there and play games and make big saves. And that's exactly what he did in this game.
Well, I think they're starting to get back to the every other game rotation. Like, I think now that there's enough stability with GR, you're going to see Carter stay. And obviously Gage is down here too.
Mystery man.
It's just a weird situation with him from what it sounds like. But, it's worked for 2 years. Why?
Yeah.
Why
Don't
go
change
back?
it.
Yeah, basically. I mean, they did it with Kosa and Leatherman. Last year it was Bedsy and Leatherman. And now this year it's Bedsy and Carter. I mean, Bedsy's played really well. Carter having a good showing Saturday. Hopefully for their sake, they can just get some stability. I mean, or hopefully they get a lot of money for their miles,
Right.
Especially Carter with all this up and down. But, I mean, Carter, he's super, super nice guy. I mean, he casually chatted with us when we was at that practice when we interviewed Hawk. I mean, seems like a great guy, and they got a great guy coaching them. I mean, Ace is just unbelievable. Great hire. That was an all-time hire. I think that's just
it's going to be a big difference maker down the road, man. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, I think it's just it goes back to like, they want these kids to get the proper coaching that they deserve, and I think Ace has done a great job. I mean, you look at how well the goaltenders have been playing, especially of late. I mean, they're just playing really well. I mean, listen, I mean, you see 6-5. It was just one of them nights last night. It's just, but it is what it is. As a whole, the goaltending's been great. I mean, I think them getting a full-time goaltending coach has really helped this organization. Even just, I would have, honestly, the guy I would have loved to seen have it for a whole season would have been Johnny.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like, look how great he was that 1 year when they had Coast down here, he had like a 930 save percentage, I think, or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, the year Osara was down there quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it would have just been so cool for him last year to have it. But you know what? Everything happens for a reason. I'm glad that Ace is here now to kind of mentor these kids, and it sounds like all four of them guys have a tremendous bond.
Yeah, and that's all you could ask for. Well, you mentioned 6-5. Let's dive into Sunday's game here because it was a freaking wild one, and one that when you texted me in the second period, the score, I was like, oh, this one might be over. But it's just, again, proving that when you're a Toledo Walleye fan, you really can't give up on the team until the final buzzer goes off, eh? Like, the scoring in this one, Cincinnati scores in the first period. Start of the second period, Mitchell Lewandowski gets his 8th of the season from Cruz and Sawyer. Cincy responds with 3 more goals in the second period there. Near the end of the second, Craggs gets his 8th of the season from Hunter Johannes, his 2nd assist of the weekend since being sent down there, with Colin Sawyer getting the other assist. That's a power play goal there for Toledo. Going to the third period, Toledo gets a goal there. Brandon Hawkins, of course, gets his 16th of the season from Tyler Spezia. Cincy adds another, and then in the last in the last 5 minutes there was a minute and 20 seconds apart these goals were scored, or was it less than that?
In the last 2 minutes, I think they were 21 seconds.
So, yeah, sorry. In the end of the third period there, in 21 seconds apart, you have Hunter Johannes getting his first pro goal. So congrats to Hunter there. What a weekend for him to go down there and try to get the puck on his stick, and look what happened, right? And we'll talk more about him in a minute. But, he gets that goal there. Sawyer and Hawkins get the assist on that. And then to tie the game there, literally 21 seconds later, Brandon Hawkins gets his 2nd of the game, 17th of the season. Jalen Smerick and Sawyer getting assists on that. Sawyer had himself a game, 4 points in this game tonight. That's freaking fantastic for him. But at the same time, great to see the boys come back like that. They go into overtime. Unfortunately, 17 seconds in, Braden Kressler for Cincinnati scores his 1st of the season, just kind of barrels in on Bedsy there and ends up finding the back of the net. Quick shot right over his shoulder. Honestly, I can't even be mad at it. It was a beautiful goal. Like, I'm not even mad that that's how it ended. I'm mad we lost, but again, beautiful goal by Kressler there for his 1st of the season. And the boys walk out of this weekend with 5 of the 6 possible points, and I'm not mad because, one, you stage a comeback like that late in the third period. Holy smokes. Like, both those goals with the goalie pulled 21 seconds apart, that's huge. But to take 5 of the 6 points in a weekend right out of the break and the beginning of this crazy schedule, that's exactly what they needed to do. I would have been okay with 1 loss over the weekend, but for them to force it and get that extra point, that's huge.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me that I got out of this with them getting 5 of 6 is Hawkins told me last night, like, look, this point is going to be an important point somewhere. We don't know when, we don't know why, we don't know how, basically. And that's huge. I think if you asked every player in that locker room, they need to play the way they played that third period for the whole 60. And they probably run a lot of teams out of the building. And Hawk even said, look, I loved our third period. Pat said, credit to the leadership to not just basically quit in a way or take it easy. They wanted to come out there and try to tie the game. And I mean, downstairs, like where I was at, like I'm watching it on this small little computer monitor with like 10 other people. Cause by then all the extras are down there. Plus you add a few other people from the team and, interns and stuff. So it's just like, it was utter chaos. We're all like, oh my God. And like, it's going crazy and it sucks they did lose, but credit to the leadership group, credit to that team as a whole for not rolling over and dying. Like I credit to Brent Bain too, like calling up, like they called a timeout and they scored right away. And then they pulled the goalie and they scored again. And it was like the Hawkins goals, they were identical. Like, I mean, identical. And it was funny because he said after the game, he's like, can't give away my secrets, but, Hunter going to the net, providing that net front presence. Him as a whole, he had a great weekend, 3 points in 3 games. Craggs had a nice goal. That was all effort. Louis, another goal. That was a nice play.
That second line just keeps producing, man.
Yeah, it does. Look, we've talked about how you need depth. You look at last night, 2 from Hawkins on the first line, one from Hunter on the third line. You get 2 from Craigs and Louie. Like, that's depth scoring.
That's exactly what you need in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
So, I mean, and, Colin Sawyer, a 4-point night, you said. So, just a credit to them to not roll over and die and just like, look, we're going to figure this out. And you know what? It's funny. I was downstairs. I was walking through the lobby area, and I look at the stairs, and the stairs are just loaded with people coming down the stairs. I'm like, this is why you never leave a game early. Like, I've seen some crazy stuff happen in that arena. I can remember one year, I think it was against Fort Wayne. It was Sturtz's year here, so it would have been Cosa's season. They were down 4-1 with 4 minutes left and tied the game.
You can never give up on this team because they don't give up on the game. That's what I love about this team. Well, they do not give up.
Yeah, it's like Pat said, the leadership. Like, they take it so personal when they lose. Like, you see it. Like, you literally see it. And like, look, nobody wants to win more than these players. Same thing with the Griffins. Nobody wants to win more than them guys. Like,
always hate losing.
You could literally think you're the biggest fan on this planet of these two teams. Doesn't matter which team you cheer for, and like, you're pissed off when they lose, but until you see it personally, like right in front of you, how much these guys hate to lose, like, that's a great thing. Like, how well they like want to win.
Don't worry, this isn't just a bunch of Shoresy jokes right here. The boys truly do hate to lose. Like, it's crazy to see how much passion these guys put behind it. It's been told to me on a personal level. Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. These guys love the game and hate to lose. Like, it's the recipe for success, and that's why Toledo's always just been such a successful franchise. And again, to take 5 of the 6 points in the weekend, props to them. One guy we'll talk about to wrap up this segment on Toledo here. Obviously, Griffins fans want to know what Hunter Johannes looked like after getting sent down there. We all labeled this call, or this send down, I should say, as a go find your game type of move, right? Go, and he even said that to you post game. You come down here to get the puck on his stick a little more, and he was shocked by the fans. Like, you asked him what his first impressions were of that, and his response was, let's go. Like, dude, we tell everyone, and again, it's just a testament to how crazy awesome the Toledo Walleye fans are. The game experience as a fan is unlike no other. It is an NHL experience at the cost of an ECHL game. It is so much fun. So if you haven't gone yet, don't know what you're waiting for. Get down there. But Hunter seemed to love it. He mentioned all the things that we mentioned kind of going into it, that it was a send down to get the puck on his stick. And he mentioned being surrounded by a great group of guys. Like, when we say those things, it's 100% true, and that the guys were going to welcome him with open arms and get the puck on his stick and hope to see success. But I think every guy loved the element of the game that he brings in creating space out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hawk said it. I think, I don't remember. It's been just a crazy 72 hours really down
Almost
here.
Every guy said it that you talked about it with.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I think the most like crazy thing, I didn't even realize this until he said it, that he played with Griffin Ness at North Dakota, and that he played youth hockey with Dornbach. So like, that line, instant chemistry, like he said, it's just pick up where you kind of left off. You've played with 2 of them. You played with both of them at one point. And just like, it's funny, like, I got to the game and my buddy Brian's like, so tell me about this guy. I was like, dude, you're going to love him. Like, he's a freaking wrecking ball, and he can play. Like, he's got skill. Like, he can play with the puck, but he can run through you. He's like, well, how big is he? I was like, he's 6'4", 225. And he just like goes, oh shit.
He's a big dude.
And it's so funny because like first shift, buries a guy into the boards. Goes across the ice, buries a guy to the boards. And Brian's sitting behind me, and he's just laughing, like hysterically laughing. And I will say he had a breakaway last night, and he did like the little Sam Gagne like pump fake and then put the backhand of your blade on top of the puck and drag it over. And I was like, oh, if he would have scored that. And then he ended up scoring late in the game.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I was like, like it was so cool to get to meet him and talk to him. Listen, I don't know if he has a nickname yet on this team, but I will put Caveman out there. Like, he was doing media with Mark, and I look over because I was standing there waiting, and he's got no shoes on. He's barefoot, and he's got this big beard, long hair. I'm like, Caveman. It's literally Caveman. And like, I think he even said to you, I was like, dude, he's walking around here with no shoes and socks on. He's barefoot, going total caveman vibes. And like, and I was expecting, like, like you said, have never talked to him. And credit to the Walleye, like, for a last minute change for both of us. Like, I know, like, friend of the show, Mark Monroe, who writes for the Blade. Like, after Hunter scored, I looked at Brady, who helps me with like the interviews. I was like, can I make a change? Like, I was like, I kind of have to. He's like, yeah, it should be fine. And I was like, okay, well, so, and then ironically, me and Mark had the same people last night, like the same three as who we had. So credit to them for allowing us to make a late change. I was expecting like a very, like, I didn't really know what to expect, but I'm expecting, like, he's like a grown man. Like, he's not much younger than I am. So I'm not expecting like this, like, fairly soft-spoken, like, level-headed person.
It's always the big tough guys that are always the soft-spoken one. Like, honestly, when I do post-game in Grand Rapids, you'd expect Austin Watson to be the most intimidating guy to talk to. And he's my favorite one to do post-game with because he just goes on. Like, he's media gold. He will talk and talk and talk. So I love doing it with the tough guys, honestly. Like, the media stuff with them is always way more fun than the soft-spoken, nervous prospect who's terrified to say the wrong thing. These guys don't give a rip. Like, they're down there to talk about the game that they love, and boy, do those guys love the game of hockey.
Yeah, like you said earlier, too, like, when he's like, I did not expect the fans. I was like, well, what was your, like, initial reaction? He's like, let's go, and, like, said it with, like, a laugh, like a vibe, and I was like, oh, dude, I love this dude. Like,
yeah.
I swear, like, if he comes out nickname weekend with freaking Caveman on the back of his jersey, I might have to seriously consider just ample money. Don't care.
Oh, God. Well, Walleye, you know how to take Travis's money now. But to rein it back in, like, for him, again, it's a guy that I want to see find success and find his way back to Grand Rapids. Sorry, Travis, I want him back, but
can we get him for at least 2 more games? Just so
I think
he's
you will,
playoff
based
eligible.
on the schedule and
just
the roster
playoff
at Grand Rapids.
Eligibility, please, because that guy could be an absolute menace in the playoffs.
Yes, he can. But at the same time, like, we've talked about it before, how fortunate of an organization we are, right? Like, no one takes the send down to the coast negatively. And Hunter is just another example of a guy that took it as, I'm going to go find my game. And that's why anytime we've ever talked about sending a guy down there, like if you go back to our preseason episodes, there's a couple Griffins that we said they might find some valuable time down in Toledo to find their game. And we mean that. Like, no one takes it negatively. They go down there, they're instantly part of that team, and they want to experience the same success that the Walleye have experienced for so long. And not every organization is like this. Like, even for Hunter to mention, not just the fans, the staff, the facilities. I'm sure he saw that sauna and was like, dude, how do we get one of these in GR? Like, again, when we say the facilities are top notch, they are. So it's credits the organization, credit for him to go down there and play his game. I love seeing him find success, getting that first pro goal, and just hopefully we continue to see more of that. And he does find his way back into the Griffins roster and can come up here and be that menace too. Because you add another menace like that into this Griffins lineup, dude, it's unbelievable. So great for him. Love it for the organization. Love it for the team. And I do hope you get at least 5 games so he is playoff eligible, because let's say the Griffins are in the playoffs and he's healthy scratch. No, send him to Toledo. God, don't healthy scratch him and sit him in the press box. No, let the kid play games. My God. I love it, though. I love seeing what he went down there and did this weekend. Like, watching that first shift and just see him body 2 guys. I'm like, there he is. Like, again, he was a guy that was frustrated by his results up here in Grand Rapids. He takes all of that personally, and he expects a lot of himself. And I've heard that from the guys in the room and guys around him. Like, he gets frustrated when it wasn't going his way. So for him to go down there and find success quickly, that's huge for him. I love that for the person and the player. So it's a huge win for all of us. So with that, though, that does wrap up all of our Toledo talk for today. Again, they dominated our conversation here because they had 3 games. So sorry. But again, they have a crazy schedule still going on. They go to Cincy for New Year's Eve?
Yeah, we got Cincy tomorrow night, and then I believe a home and home with Fort Wayne, and I don't remember who's in on Sunday, but it's another like...
Oh, Kalamazoo.
Yeah, so, hopefully Chaz is back by that game. He loves to play against that team.
He loves scoring against his old team. It's pretty funny. No, again, crazy schedule for them, crazy schedule for both teams. A lot of fun action for us to talk about. So please be sure to check back with us, and we'll recap those games here in the future. But last thing to talk about to wrap this one up here, quick shout out to the World Juniors as those continue to go on, which is always just fun hockey to watch. Axel Sandin Pellikka continues to be Axel Sandin Pellikka out there, making great plays. What a goal and an assist in the game the other night, too, after his hat trick and assist game the night before, or the game before that. 2 assists.
Yeah.
Whatever. Putting up points consistently. Shout out to Latvia for beating Canada. That was so much fun. What a crazy experience that was to watch.
And they won today, and they go to the quarters for the first time ever in the World Juniors.
Crazy. So you love that for those teams. You see a lot of criticism about bringing teams like that into these tournaments, and then you watch them go do crazy things like this, and you're like, yeah, that's why you bring teams like that into these tournaments. It's fun. It's hockey. You never know what could happen. The powerhouse team could have a bad game and lose a game like that. And for me, it's the U.S. I always love watching Canada lose, no matter who it's to. So
well, they
it
said
was
the
a good
same
one.
thing yesterday when we lost to Finland, but
we don't talk about that. It's, again, the Finns are a decent team.
well,
Just making myself feel better.
the last 5 games between the U.S. and the Finns have been decided by 1 goal or something like that. They said yesterday.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy.
It's a good matchup.
It's good matchups pretty much across the board. It's such a fun tournament, dude.
Oh, it's by far behind the Stanley Cup playoffs and probably the Kelly Cup playoffs, with just being at a personal level with Toledo. World Juniors is one of my favorite parts of hockey all season. I remember being in high school and you're off this whole time for break and you're just watching nothing but hockey through the middle of the day.
It's great when you work from home too. Sorry.
Oh
boss,
yeah, it must be nice.
Don't tell my boss.
I've seen some stuff Trey's struggling, and it's it is what it is. Until knockout stage happens, he'll be all right. I'm not at all really concerned about that. The first game he had a tough one, but then he did have a little bit better performance. You may not think that because they lost that game, but if you look at his save percentage, a lot better in the second game. So he's trending the right way. Look, when you guys listen to this, the game of the tournament, for us as Americans, is tomorrow. Well, today, U.S. and Canada. It literally doesn't get bigger than that at the World Juniors, it feels like, unless you're from another country and you're playing a rival. But for us, it's U.S. and Canada. This is the biggest hockey game of the tournament for us, outside of a game for a medal.
Yeah, honestly, it's always fun to watch. I'm excited for it. And yeah,
I just hope I don't get called into work tomorrow night, because it's supposed to change to snow at night, and I'm just let me watch this, please.
Happy New Year from the plow truck, Trav.
Probably is a good chance.
And speaking of Happy New Year, as we end this episode off, just want to say Happy New Year to all y'all too. Hope everyone has a safe and happy New Year's. If you're heading down to Van Andel, definitely be safe downtown, but enjoy the game. Have a good time with it. Trav, what do you have to add?
I just got to give one person a shout out. Derek Sleezer. Met him in Toledo this past weekend. Drove all the way from Nebraska.
Oh, Derek.
Making the trip all the way from Nebraska. He's doing Toledo. I think he said he was in Detroit yesterday, and then he'll be up there tomorrow for the Griffins. So just wanted to give him a little shout out, because that's a hell of a trip for somebody to come all the way to watch 2 minor league teams and the Red Wings.
That's awesome, Derek. Well, hope you're having fun. Safe travels, man. And thank you, because you're one of our Patreon subscribers as well. So thank you for that. And of course, As always, to end the episode, we got to thank our sponsors, DraftKings and Game Time and the Hockey Podcast Network, for being fantastic partners with us. And of course, our patrons as well. Without them, the show would not be possible. If you want to join them, head over to patreon.com/Hockeytown West Podcast. Check out the tiers we have there, and you can join up with them and join Derek and all the others that support us. And all the others that support us are John, Elaine, Griffin, Randy, Lori, Alan, and Michael. Thank you all for the love and support. We appreciate you guys. And with that, man, that's it. That's all we got for this one. Like I said, Happy New Year, everybody. Have fun. Be safe. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. But until we talk again, go Griffins, go Walleye, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey.